So just left from How's it going, gentlemen? So I just left a meeting right now where they were just talking about pretextual stops. But this looked different. Is this a... Oh. That's horrible. Imagine if you was in your neighborhood and this happened to you. But that's the driver right there. You talking to the passenger. So...
Stopped at a green light for about 10 seconds. No, that was actually way back over by Wentworth. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. She's talking. Okay, that's all we wanted to do.
They said the driver fine? But why y'all bothering the passenger? If this, well, you might want to be quiet then because you keep talking. Why are you talking?
Me?
No, him.
Oh. Good?
This motherfucker. It's a consistency in this though. Like this what we suffer under the weight of people. Have a good night, gentlemen. Why y'all eyeballing me? Fuck out of here.
Lee Malecki, B-I-E-L-E-C-K-I, District Counselor for the CCPSA in the 22nd District. I know there's going to be a lot of talk about how the traffic stops affect people in the marginalized communities. They do. They affect them. They affect them to the tune of Chicago police in the last 2.5 years recovering over 10,000 guns on traffic stops. It was last week and I witnessed a video of a young man coming out of a convenience store at Chicago and Laramie when a car pulled up. And as he was coming out of the door, two men jumped out, one with a handgun and another with an AK-47, and shot him dead. Would his life been saved by a traffic stop? I can't say. I do think there is a better way to conduct traffic stops, as one of the few people probably in this room that's ever had conducted traffic stops since I was a Chicago police officer for 27 years. I can tell you they're very dangerous. They're very traumatic. I still remember when Ella French was across the street in the hospital after she was shot and murdered on a traffic stop. So, and hundreds of police officers that stood outside there. I think there is a better way. Hopefully, Alderman LaSpada and the City Council could come to some resolution to help Chicago police officers in conducting traffic stops. LA County is investigating and may to create a study on civilians who can perform low-level traffic stops. It'd be interesting to see how that survey comes out. But the trauma caused by violence in the marginalized communities far outweighs the trauma from a traffic stop. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Darrell Gators, Vice Presidential Program Manager for One Northside, Vice Presidential Program MCP Corky, also District Council for the 20th District. Now, I've experienced from early stages of traffic stops when it was stop and frisk transformed into this pretextual thing. Started when I was about 12 being harassed and bullied by police in my own community. And I've seen that transition into my participants, the same people that I work with, being pulled over, harassed, speakers pulled out their car, parts of their car being dismantled, broken, not paid for it. There's no repercussions for it. Unnecessary. A lot of these times there's no arrest made. And when there is an arrest, it's oftentimes dismissed when it goes to court because it's petty cases. I recently, in the past 3 months, been pulled over twice by CPD for once, the last time it was for being too close to the fire hydrant. I wasn't in the yellow, I wasn't on the fire hydrant, there was nothing illegal happening. They pulled up to me, guns out, drawn, looking in my car, pulled out, you know, trying to pull out to see if there was people in my car. There was nobody. I was released, but my life was in danger. Time before that, I was arrested on false pretenses. They were trying to take me to do a page. There was, you know, they say I was a victim of identity theft, but we all know that was just, you fit the description. I did 36 hours in the county jail away from my family, and eventually they dismissed the case. How many times are we going to watch our black and brown children arrested for things they have not done, for petty cases such as restrictions on tail light, expiration of registration? These things are not criminal, and people should be labeled criminal for these petty things. I encourage the CCPSA to take action and take control of the situation.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dave Espada. I represent the First Ward as a law person here in the city of Chicago. I also chair the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety for the City Council. What brings me here today is the opportunity to work with you on following up on the hearing that we actually had in my committee a year ago, in collaboration with a lot of the individuals in the room this evening, in collaboration with the Freedom Room Coalition, knowing that this is an issue that is directly related to your work. When we see the way traffic stops operate in the city of Chicago, those who gave public comment in my committee just about a year ago shared how that fractured their trust with the Chicago Police Department, how it gave them traumas that persisted in their lives. That is a work, that is a relationship with the Chicago Police Department that we can't afford for Chicagoans, particularly for black and brown Chicagoans. I'm a Chicagoan who has lived in this city for 25 years now, this August, who has never been pulled over by the Chicago Police Department. Contrast that with my colleagues in the room, Black, Latinx, Asian American, and Alders, who all that day had stories of pretextual traffic stops that impacted their lives. And not stories of their youth, of recklessness in the past, stories from their adulthood, stories of traffic stops from their time in office. I was really grateful last term to have the opportunity to vote for the creation of this commission. I am glad that we voted to create one of the most powerful bodies for police accountability in the United States. And I trust and believe and am encouraged by this hearing, and that you will use the full power of your authority to create meaningful and lasting reform where traffic stops are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth, traditional spelling, Rochford, R-O-C-H-F-O-R-D, and I'm a 17th District Councilor. I am not a prognosticator, but allow me to fast forward to some of what we will hear tonight. Traffic stops are coming down, but what I would like to know is why did they increase so drastically when stop and frisk as a harassment technique was obviously imperiled? Superintendent Snelling was not in charge, but he was part of the leadership and should have access to this information. Why is Chicago the only major city who has seen a dramatic increase in traffic stops since the COVID era? A New York Times journalist recently stated, Chicago broke our scale, while other cities are consistently decreasing in traffic stops. Now let me move to the future. We want pretextual traffic stops gone.
Make it plain.
We live in a city with significant violence problems. Police need to extract themselves from the ticket business. You need to be in the solving crimes and finding an actual effective way of getting guns off the street business. As in South Africa, there would be no reconciliation without truth. We need CPD to acknowledge the real harm their policies and practices have caused, and they need to partner with us to begin the healing process. Yes. Thank you.
I am the co-chair of the transportation group for the Chicago chapter of Sierra Club. As part of our work towards ending traffic violence in the city, we also believe that enforcement needs to reform in a way that leads to safer, more equitable outcomes for all the citizens who live here. We believe police should not be responsible for enforcing minor violations. In 2023, 70% of traffic stops occurred either due to expired tickets or burnt out light. Does that sound like a useful, good use of police resources? That also sounds new data from the 200,000 unreported stops, nearly a quarter of all stops that was recently unearthed by investigations from the outlet Justice Watch. Or how about the 9/11 rapid response teams that were too busy pulling people over for minor offenses instead of responding to emergency calls? How can we justify the use of such police force for such colossal waste? Chicago also leads in homicide closure rates compared to the nation at large. Using loose pretexts to search for weapons hasn't fixed that, and has only widened the gulf of mistrust between the people and the police. Imagine if we used some of those wasted resources for solving crimes by doing actual investigative work. Maybe we could make meaningful progress in addressing violent crime in the city. Police also shouldn't be involved with traffic enforcement because there are better options. We can reduce speeding through infrastructure and through automated enforcement. The police don't even enforce these laws consistently between people of color and other citizens of Chicago. If we really want to address these problems, we can do so without active policing. It's also that people of color and especially Black Chicagoans are unfairly targeted by law enforcement, whether human or machine, and very under-punitive fines that leave them having to risk jail time for minor infractions that lead to unpaid tickets. We punish poor people for being poor as if that's a fault of their own, rather than unequal investment in their well-being. I don't want someone to go to jail because they couldn't afford to fix their taillight, but need a car because they live in a food and transit desert. I want the city to do a better job of making that a choice no one should ever have to make. Thank you.
Omar Akers. I am the victims advocate for Rogers Park and Uptown on the north side of Chicago. Under the CP14 model, I work for One Northside. The man who just left the stand, I also work for him under the same model and the same program. I was in the car with him on his last stop. They came up to the car, guns out, asking me questions. I was a passenger. I don't know if you saw me walk down the steps. I need a lot of help because I am what you would call disabled, but it doesn't stop me from doing my job. The point that I'm trying to make here is that for me to have this job that you see me carry better than I do, better than anybody else in the city who has my job, is I was put under 17 weeks of extreme training to teach me about traumas and all the different kinds of traumas. Now I'm not up here to give you stats on who was shot, when, where, how, and when, and why. I'm here to tell you that the police should be under the same scrutiny, should be under the same training, and should be taught the same practices that we were taught to do the job that we have to do. They came up to the car with their guns out. Now, that police officer could have been having a bad day, and my 3 children would have had no father just because of a traffic stop where I wasn't even the pilot of the vehicle. I'm not here to waste time, and I'm not going to wait till you tell me to stop the clock. But if he came up and had a bad day, my clock would have been stopped. Stop pretextual stops, please.
Of pretextual traffic stops and to emphasize the role of the CCPSA in representing our community's priorities. First and foremost, we must end racially biased pretextual traffic stops through long-standing policy reform. These stops disproportionately target marginalized communities, eroding trust between the public and the police. The data is clear that this practice does not enhance public safety, but instead perpetuates systemic injustice. CCPSA has a unique opportunity to lead the charge in ending this harmful practice. Any policy implemented must be comprehensive. We can't afford half measures that allow the police to pivot to similar practices under a different name. We need a policy that outright ends pretextual stops, limits stops for low-level offenses that do not present road safety dangers, and ends suspicionless searches during traffic stops. Over half of traffic stops CPD made from 2019 to 2021 were for having a headlight or taillight issue or improperly displayed or expired registration plates. Stopping someone for these issues is more likely to create a dangerous scenario for them as they interact with police than to improve road safety. Consent searches also enable cops to conduct fishing expeditions of people and have very racially disparate enforcement. Law enforcement needs to have an independent legal basis to search before asking for consent. CCPSA is entering closed-door negotiations on these issues, despite being created to be the voice of the people on matters of public safety and policing. We expect transparency on how these conversations are progressing, and we trust that CCPSA will advocate for policies that align with the community's demand for accountability, transparency, and true public safety. In conclusion, the problem of pretextual traffic stops is extensive and requires strong, swift action. The CCPSA has the power to make meaningful change, and we urge CCPSA to keep
time. Thank you.
Hi. Counselor at 7th Police District. I want to thank everyone who got us here, all people who did the hard work coalition. You guys are amazing. Everyone spoke has been so eloquent. I don't even want to even try to talk about some of the things they talked about, so it gives me a great opportunity to talk about a little bit of a higher umbrella issue. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? What we have in this city is a trust problem. And this is the tip of that iceberg, that, like, the district councils are supposed to build trust between the community and the police, build relationships. So then I go to people and I go, you have to take that leap of faith, of trust. But then I'll see a news article that says on top of the countless traffic stops that we all see each and every day in the community, there's 200,000 unreported ones that are occurring, right? That have, like, not been put on the books. So how am I supposed to tell people to trust when they're being lied to every day? And I like to use just like absolute terms. Those are lies. So I go to the community, I go, well, you have to trust the police, right? Is that what I'm supposed to tell them? That doesn't make any sense to me. So if these pretextual traffic stops continue, it erodes everything, right? I was reading a research just the other day that a traffic stop can actually stop someone from voting. Is there any coincidence that the communities that have some of the highest traffic stops also have some of the lowest voter turnout in the city? No, that's not a coincidence, right? And we don't even think that deep, but we have to at some point. And I wish to my soul Stella was here, because I want to tell him eye to eye. We have a trust problem. You have the power to fix it. These people in front of us have the power to help you to fix it. But if you don't comment, you don't deny, that's not true. That's not the real. Fuck all that. It's frustrating, and it does nothing to get us to where we need to go. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here and your commitment to this important issue. My name is Joy Mobio, and I'm joined by my colleague Amy Thompson, and we're here today representing the Freedom Move Coalition. The Freedom Move Coalition is an alliance working to create a safer and more racially equitable system of traffic safety in Chicago. Over the next 3 years, we've analyzed data on pretextual traffic stops that attest to the lived experiences of Chicagoans. It's clear that change is needed. Today, we want to share with you what that research shows and what our coalition thinks needs to be done to begin addressing this serious issue. Next slide, please. I want to briefly explain the types of stops that our coalition is focused on. We analyze data we obtained from CPD, documenting CPD's traffic stops for a moving, equipment, or licensing and registration traffic offense. Any of these stops could be a pretextual traffic stop. That's when an officer uses a violation of the traffic code, typically a minor violation, as an excuse to pull someone over when their real motivation is to investigate the person for signs of criminal activity that they don't have a reasonable suspicion of. We are not talking about stops for crimes like robbery or carjacking. If an officer has a reasonable suspicion or probable cause for crimes like that, they can pull over a car for that reason. So those are not the type of stops that we're talking about here. Rather, we're talking about stops made for a traffic code violation.
Slide, please. In 2015, CPD was required to limit its use of pedestrian stop and frisk. Instead, it just funneled that discriminatory practice into escalated traffic stops. From there, traffic stops increased by 700% and have stayed high ever since. Although it's been reported that stops this year have gone down by 40%, that's still too high. If you assume those numbers remain steady through the rest of the year, that's still over 350,000 stops, more than any year before 2018. So while the decrease is good, there's still a long way to go. Slide, please. In 2004 and the years thereafter, most stops were made for moving offenses. Now, however, CPD stops are focused instead on minor violations. In 2023, nearly 70% of traffic stops were made for a registration plate or license issue. Slide, please. CPD has said it uses traffic stops to find criminal activity and fight violence. But when you really look at the data, it shows that the strategy of using minor traffic stops as pretext to fish for criminal activity doesn't work. In 2023, just 3.7% of stops resulted in a citation. Only 2.2% resulted in an arrest. Less than 1% resulted in recovery of illegal items like drugs or weapons, and within that, less than 0.5% resulted in finding a gun. With over 500,000 stops last year, this data shows that using traffic stops as a pretext to fish for people engaging in crime is remarkably ineffective. Slide, please. But beyond being ineffective, CPD's traffic stops practices disproportionately harm Black and Latino drivers and communities. In 2023, Black drivers were over 51% of those stopped, and yet they make up less than 29% of Chicago's population. And District 11, a district with over 96% Black or Latino residents, had 10% of the city's stops, despite being only 2.5% of the city's population. We also, slide please. We also see racial disparities in consent searches, which is what happens when an officer asks a person for their permission to search. Officers don't need to have any suspicion of criminal activity before asking for that consent. In 2023, over 95% of consent search requests were made to Black or Latino drivers. Please.
To address these problems, the Freedom Move Coalition developed a 3-part policy to reduce racially disparate pretextual stops. We don't have time to fully dig into those today, but we wanted to briefly mention them because the panelists you're going to hear from will be discussing some of these policy changes. First, we want to limit stops made solely for the low-level violations that are the most common pretexts. Things like recently expired registration or one broken headlight. These stops aren't keeping us safe and they're a waste of public resources. Second, we want to prevent police from being able to use the stop code, the traffic code, as an excuse to stop someone when they're really interested in is criminal activity. This would make it so police focus on actual evidence of criminal activity instead of relying on traffic offenses as excuses to fish. Finally, we want to end suspicious list consent searches during traffic stops. This will require police to have some level of criminal suspicion before asking the driver for consent to search. Next slide, please. This is such an important issue that sits at the heart of why this commission exists. This is why community members submitted over 2,400 signatures to demand this hearing. Today, we want to increase public safety by eliminating harmful and ineffective pretextual traffic stops. To learn more, please follow this QR code on the screen or reach out to me or Amy. I'll hand it back over to you, President Trump.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gary Lewis. I am one of them such cases as I was going home and I was pulled over for no more than driving a nice vehicle, and what the police officer stated in a not so nice neighborhood. I sued the city and I was awarded a settlement, but more importantly, Chuck Galley did a story in February the 21st, and it was called Search Switch, and it was the answer to Stop and Frisk. Chuck Galley came over to my house and did an interview. I was pulled over just doors from my house, and I was in a car with just me and my dog, and an officer was coming up a one-way street, so I pulled over, and he went down to the stop sign and he busted a U-turn and he came to the side of me and he stated that my license plates didn't come back to anything. I was driving a loaner vehicle because my vehicle was that Hinsdale Land Rover, and I was in a Land Rover Defender, which is kind of fast.
Can I do that? Because y'all don't go through what I spent 13 hours last night in jail. Please.
In a loaner vehicle, and long story short, I was in prison. I was in the police station for 2 days.
Y'all come in here, y'all want to work.
And COPA confirmed that the license plate did come back. They was coming to my door telling me false stories, and I had a seizure while in custody. So I'm one of them horror stories, and I had just lost my mother to death prior to getting pulled over and basically taken to the police station. So you can look up my story, Stop Switch by Gary Lewis, CPD. Chuck Gowdy did it.
That a strategy to reduce crime should not solely encompass traffic stops. I want to acknowledge, additionally, the superintendent has acknowledged that oversight of our traffic stops is absolutely necessary and that he has taken steps to show this. I want to acknowledge the discussion of traffic stops can be complicated. What we define in policy is nuanced and detailed. However, it must always be rooted in the Fourth Amendment and in constitutional policing principles. More importantly, I am here to listen this evening. Thank you for sharing your concerns during this public comment, and I look forward to hearing from the panel and the subject matter experts here today. The more we listen, the more we can learn. And the more we can learn, the stronger we can make our policies and our training. In order to ensure that we are serving you, the communities, we must have sound policies and first-rate training for our officers. This is why CPD believes that traffic stops should be added to the consent decree. We believe that adding traffic stops to the consent decree provides a robust oversight process to ensure that we develop strong policies and training. Uniquely, with the addition to the consent decree, we will also be holding CCPSA to have a role in the policy development process. This is new, but we believe that it's important. We need to hear the voices of the community that CCPSA is connected to. In 2025, we'll be prioritizing Fourth Amendment training, which will include training on traffic stops. This training will include an 8-hour foundational course and an 8-hour practical scenario-based course for officers. The foundational course is a combination, in combination with the scenario-based course, is pivotal to training as it reinforces these concepts. We are developing this training in conjunction with national subject matter experts with the review of community members. We see this training as a starting point, and as new policies develop, we will have additional training. During our policy development process, we will continue to seek community input. This can be assessed through Chicago Police Department's website. As always, we hope to hear from all of you, and we hope that you all continue to share your feedback. At the end of the day, this is about culture change. We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get out of this overnight. However, we do believe the Chicago Police Department is taking concrete steps to go in the right direction. We ask that you walk with us in that direction. With your community voices and expertise, we can get at this together. Thank you, and I look forward to listening to everybody here. Thank you.
My name is Alexandra Block. I am the director of the Criminal Legal System and Policing Project at the ACLU of Illinois. And I have the honor of representing the plaintiffs in Wilkins versus City of Chicago, which is a proposed class action lawsuit against the City of Chicago based on the discrimination that our clients and hundreds of thousands of other Black and Latinx clients face based on CPD's Pretexual traffic stop program. It's beyond dispute that CPD's mass traffic stop program has disproportionately affected Black and brown drivers throughout the city for years. What's less well understood, but very important to examine, is what are the policies and practices that CPD employs that cause the racially disparate effects that everyone here today and for years has been complaining about. And our investigation has shown that there are 3 issues that are creating the problems, 3 policies and practices that CPD is employing. One is quotas. Quotas that require police officers to stop certain numbers of drivers in a day or in a week or in a year. And those quotas incentivize officers to make baseless, unconstitutional, unlawful, and discriminatory traffic stops. The third is saturation policing, sending police disproportionately into Black and brown neighborhoods. And the third is simply racial profiling. It's important to understand why these disparate impacts are occurring to understand what to do about them. And we encourage CCPSA to look not only into solutions, but into causes. Thank you.
Executive Director of Better Streets Chicago. We're a grassroots organization fighting for safer streets for all Chicagoans, and we are a proud member of the Free to Move Coalition that's fighting to end pretextual traffic stops. I am a victim of traffic violence. In the last year, I have been hit 3 times while riding my bicycle in the city of Chicago. Every single time that I was hit, the police never came when I called. Last year, I heard a crash outside of my window one night. Me and the neighbor rushed out to see what was going on, and we found a car with a mother and 5 children. And their father was running around trying to play police officer, getting footage from any businesses around the area, because when we called 911, police never showed. Me and my neighbor waited around with the family while the mother was taken to the hospital, but the police never came. And this is really striking to me as you hear all these stories about people who have so much police intervention in their lives, from small infractions, getting pulled over for a broken taillight, for example. But then when people are actually facing crisis and need help, they're left alone. And this is, I think, the stark contrast that really highlights why it's so important that we actually change this policy, because this policy is having a dramatic negative impact on Black and brown Chicagoans' lives. The people who really need help aren't getting the help that they need when they need it. So I urge you to adopt the Free to Move Coalition's 3-pronged platform and end this injustice. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Rolokoff. I am a lifelong Chicagoan and an elected 14th District Councilor working to achieve greater community control over police in beautiful Humboldt Park, where I live, as well as Logan Square, the park, and surrounding areas. We held a survey that shows constituents overwhelmingly want police to spend their time answering 911 calls and responding to emergency situations, and conducting traffic stops as their lowest priority alongside non-emergency activity. The biggest disconnect between the people's priorities and CPD's practices is around pretextual traffic stops, a discriminatory and dishonest replacement for the federally banned stop and frisk practice. Pretextual traffic stops are as wasteful for Chicago's taxpayers as they are harmful to the Black and brown communities that are receiving over 97% of all associated use of force. There is a real frustration that police are not responding to over half of 911 calls, as reported by the Inspector General of Chicago, and are instead violating constitutional and civil rights through a systematic top-down practice that closely resembles racist quotas. I am also here today to mark a momentous, first-of-its-kind historical event. 35 district councilors representing millions of Chicagoans across the city have officially joined a DC proposal group calling for the passing of Free to Move's 3-point policy platform to end pretextual traffic stops by limiting low-level stops, banning suspicionless consent searches without probable cause, and ending the use of stops as an excuse for unrelated motivations. This is the first and only time in history that a majority of district councilors have come to a clear policy consensus, revealing that ending pretextual stops is the #1 issue for public safety in Chicago. Solving this problem is exactly why the CCPSA was created, and following elected district councilors will not rest until Free to Move's policy platform is fully enacted, ending pretextual stops for good. Alexander Perez, District 2, Anthony Bryant, Kenny Franklin, District 3, Levy Bernard, Gloria Jenkins, Brenda Waters, District 4, Robert McKay, Conchita Moore, District 5, David Boykin, District 6, Teresa Chandler, District 7, Aaron Gold, District 9, Keisha Smith, Rosemary Dominguez, Eliana Bahena, District 10, Lisa Edwards, District 11, Michelle Page, Leonardo Montero, Coco Teller, District 12, thank you.
Okay, go on ahead and pass this stuff they're talking about, because it sounds really simple. But I want you to notice that the people who are Black, who spoke about actually getting stopped, didn't say nothing about those 3 things when they got stopped, okay? They talked about gun pointing, they talked about being snatched out of cars, They talk about things that these three little things that they want you to do ain't got nothing to do with. You do not know what's going on during these traffic stops by passing that stuff they talking about. So just pass it so it's over, okay? And then we'll get down to the nitty gritty of going into the community and actually talking to black people who are stopped and not white allies who are telling you what's happening based on stats.
Yeah. Fuck out of
Okay?
here.
You need to know
Y'all
what's
wanna make me not
happening
speak?
during
Fuck
these
out of
traffic
here.
stops because there is your change.
Thank you, sister.
Okay?
Thank you.
Your change is not in stats. Your change is in voice. Knowing what exactly happens so that you can change the behavior of the police officers that are doing this.
That's gotta be true.
Okay? One of them in particular, I don't know how many times you all have come and sat in the federal court with judge over the consent decree. But one of my guys had his CCL, right? His FOID. They stopped him over the sticker and they arrested him. An arbitrary arrest, pretextual my butt, arbitrary arrest. These guys want to arrest people. That is part of traffic stops, arrest. They ain't talking about arrest. So just pass that real quick so we can get down to business.
Thank you, sir.
You're not. So let me go. Why you pulling me over? Stop. Tell me why you pulling me over. Because you made a turn signal within 100 feet. What? I turned at the green light. Let me go. Relax. Let me go. No. Y'all not for the violate my right.
Don't grab me.
Okay, let me go then.
Calm down.
Stop.
Hey.
Y'all don't have to pull on me. Look. Stop. First off, y'all don't have to pull on me. It's being recorded. I know it's
You get out.
I don't want to be out here like this. Stop.
This the same one. This the same one that give. This the same one for problem. What's up? Let me come out. I feel so bad. Fuck you, God. I gotta get this boy some fucking money.
Let me go. Let me go. Let me get my keys. Let me go. Let me get my keys.
Guys, you're on camera, guys. You're on camera.
Let me go.
Hey, sir. Twin, please. Sir, stop fighting. Stop fighting, sir. Stop fighting. Twin, please. You getting out, Twin. Stop fighting, sir. Twin. Stop fighting.
Let me go. Let me go.
Stop fighting.
Let me go then.
Okay, get on camera.
Let me go.
Excessive force. A taser. No. No taser. He didn't do shit. Hey, you back up. You back up. Don't put the bummy on the woman. You being recorded. You being recorded. Don't put your hands on me. You touch me.
Don't touch me.
You touch me. You're being recorded. You touch me. You're being recorded.
I don't care.
Black Lives Matter. You back up. You back up. You see how you in my face, lawsuit? You see how you in my face? You're being recorded.
I don't care.
Excessive force. I know you don't give a fuck.
I didn't say fuck.
I know you don't give a fuck. I know you don't give a fuck. What the hell?
Camera out of my face.
Oh, what? Are you gonna hit me? You're being recorded. You're alive. You're alive. I'm already back. You get the fuck out my face. You get the fuck out my face. Fuck. I'm already back. I'm already back. What's your name? What's your badge number? Let me get it. Oh, yo, where is it? Oh, you don't have it on? You don't have it on? You don't have it on? You don't have it on?
Y'all ain't got that bill cameras on.
Get those cameras. And this the same one that fucked with us last time.
So you have to stay right here.
The hell? I was right here. He was still in my fucking face. I was right here. He was still in my fucking face. Fuck up out of here.
Why you grabbing me?
Put everything on camera. It's already on camera. They pulled him over for nothing.
What are you being arrested for? Sir, come on, man. Cut that bullshit out.
This the same one that's always causing shit. This the same one always causing fucking problems. Arrest the real motherfuckers y'all need to get. Get the real ones y'all need to get.
What are you being arrested for? 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 Why are you arresting this guy? What is he being arrested for?
They lying.
What is he being arrested for?
Arrested him because he made a turn in a. They lying. He did it. They lying. They was sitting there. They lying. They was just sitting there. They lying. He been put a signal on.
For every speaker that came up here, I commend y'all for just being open. However, y'all don't even hardly realize the reality that we suffer as Black Americans here in this city. Just last night, I spent 13 hours in District 1 arrested for nothing. On July 22nd, just passed, I spent hours in the 50 West Washington building arrested for nothing. I have 3 order protections. In July 22nd, 2020, I was jumped on by the criminals dressed up as police officers in the 24th District. Countless events that take place. I spoke with you all. I spoke with the Freedom Move Coalition, and most of you all in this room possibly know who I am. From just attending these meetings and being here, sharing with you all my consistent traumas. But I got our so-called allies and a host of other people in this room that will never realize that they have the freedom to move throughout life. They have the freedom to move throughout the workplace, freedom to move throughout education, freedom to move throughout business and just life, period. Whereas I'm hindered and hampered in every motion. Similar to you as you tell your story. Well, here it is. These moments for me are too consistent, which means they must be manufactured. And I have an organization, a community commission of public safety to aid me. However, I'm not getting aided. The Freedom Move Coalition should have jumped along, but nope. And so I'm a man in the wind, just like most Black Americans here in the city of Chicago, in the wind, arguing points in which we won't get anything out of, policies which won't aid us, legislation that won't even help us. So where we stand? I'm just saying, honestly, where do we stand? I don't want to be told to sit down when I need to say something, especially when it's important, especially when it pertains to this. You all know who I am. What pretextual stops is, I guess, more important than the people.